we have discussed about class, then we have also discussed about object, right? Now we are going to discuss about constructor. So Pravina, you must have an idea like what is a constructor and what is the purpose of defining constructor. Yes or no?
To create the objects and to declare the variables, we need the constructor.
Partially correct.
Constructor has the same name as of class name.
True. By default, we will get constructor true. Okay.
Through constructor, we can create an object for a class, any number of objects for a class. We can create by explicitly, or if you won't create it, by default, the no parameter constructor will be called actually.
Okay. So for now, we haven't discussed about methods, but let me use this term for a moment, or at least for this session. What is constructor? Constructor is a, we can say, is a special kind of method, doesn't have return type, okay. Constructor name and class name must be same. We can have any number of constructor in a class, okay. Every class has a default constructor, even if we are not going to write. What is the purpose of constructor?
To allocate the memory for the object in the storage, create the object, and initialize the instance variables.
Yep. So I'm writing it here. Used for object creation. Whenever we want to make an object of a class, constructor will be called. Okay, now how to define a constructor? How to define a constructor? So for example, we have a class student, right? We want to define constructor in this class. What we can just do is, okay, let me explain the syntax first. So we'll be having something called access modifier that we haven't discussed yet. Most probably we will start discussing today. Access modifier, then name of class, then parenthesis like this, and here we can have parameters. Not able to write. Not able to write. So let me just use text. So here we can use parameters. Okay, so these are basically optional. Then we will have constructor body, something like this. Let me check what is wrong with my pen. 1 second, guys. Yeah, it's working now. So here we can have parameter. These are optional. Whenever the constructor is the default one, right? Then we will have constructor body. Okay, what we will be doing here? We will be doing initialization of state, or we can say instance variable. Right now, the question would be, what is an instance variable? We'll be discussing that too. So this is how we can define a constructor inside a class. For example, in a student class, I want to define a constructor. So I can say like public and then class name, that is student, and then body of the constructor. Like this we can define. This is called default constructor. Even we don't define a constructor inside a class, default constructor would be there. For example, if I talk about, like we were discussing a person class yesterday, you can see in this class we do not have any constructor defined, right? But whenever we don't have a constructor, what Java does, it inserts a default constructor like student, like this. I'm sorry, it's person. So in this case it would be person. Okay, so whenever we are not defining a constructor inside a class, then Java will insert a default constructor with empty body, like there is no statement. Getting my point? But what if we have a constructor here? So for example, int age, and I'm saying something like this dot age is equals to age. In this case, what we have is we have a parameterized constructor here. So the default constructor that Java was inserting earlier will not be there. If we want to define a default one, then we explicitly need to write it like this. Okay. Whenever we don't have a constructor defined inside a class, then default one be inserted by Java itself. If we have a parameterized constructor inside a class like this, then this constructor won't be there. Still, we are not going to write it. Getting my point? For example, this is not there, for example, and also this is not there. But you can see in person tester class, we can call this constructor. When I say open declaration, so it will take me to person class, right? But here we can see there is no constructor. Then how we are able to call it? That means default constructor is there, but there is nothing like inside that constructor because this is the empty one. And if you write it here like this, and I say constructor invoked, right? And then I'm going to run this program in debug mode. So let's see how it works. Debug at Java application. We are at line 4 of our program that is going to be execute. When I say step in using this F5, so what it will does, it will go to the body of the constructor. Let me add one more point here so that you can see, like when I'm saying person P1, what is happening in the background. I'm saying execute this line person P1 equals to new person. So it will go inside person class, inside the constructor, right? And we'll execute this line. Getting? Now we'll go back and do the rest of the stuff. This P1 dot address, P1 dot age, P1 dot name, and then display info. When we say display info, so it goes here. Let me execute this. So now we are at here at this point, display, and it will display name and age. Let me just execute this step. So have a look on console. You can see it's in the display info method, and it will go back again because this code has been executed now, and it is going to call this person P2 equals to new person. Then it will go back into the constructor. Again, we will get constructor invoked. You can see it, right? And finally, P2 dot display info. It will go back again to display info and will print that. Getting this flow, like how it's working? Any doubt? So the purpose of defining a constructor inside a class is basically initialize the state of an object. So for example, we have this person object. What I'm going to do is now I'm going to define a parameterized constructor that will take for parameters, not for, in this case we will be using int a, int other will be string s, or string a d, and string n, and we will be doing like name, initialize name with n, initialize address with add, initialize age with a, like this. Okay, now I'm going to say, like whenever I'm creating an object, I want to initialize that object with some data. For example, whenever a child get birth, so some default properties are associated with them, like his father name, mother name, his age, right? Getting my point? At the time of birth of a child, it got some default properties, isn't it?
Yes.
So when we are creating an object, it is similar to birth of a child. Like the object is going to create, for example, a child get birth, then he grow up, then he dies, right? Similarly, object will be created will grown up and will be died. Because yesterday we were discussing an object is a real world entity which exists physically. So when we talk in terms of programming, an object will be created, will grown up and will die. So if we want to associate some property with an object at the time of birth of that object, we can do that using constructor. For example, I'm saying age would be 0, right? And address would be, let's say, xyg. What we have is address and the name, and name is Anuj, for example. We don't really need this one. So when we are creating an object, at that moment we want to say add this information with the state of p1, right? Let me just run it, and before that what I need to do is I'm just going to add the name address here, so that we can see what are the value we have assigned. Okay, now let me just run it. So we have created p1 with this information Anuj 0 and xyz. Are you following? Now there might be some possibility like every day state of this object will be changed, right? So like if I say tomorrow its age will be changed to 1 day, for example, right? So for that what we can have setter method. If we want to change the state of an object later on after its birth, what we can do is we can have setter methods. We'll discussing about that later on. Who have ever worked with Java, they might have some idea like what is a setter method. Today our concern is basically to focus on constructor. So still we have some discussion on till this point on constructor, like what is a constructor, what is the purpose of defining a constructor, and how we can define a constructor. Anybody has any doubt so far?
So you're defining constructor in another class and using it into a different class?
Yes,
Okay.
obviously we will be doing the same thing. Like for a real-time project there won't be a single class, there will be multiple classes communicating each other in the form of objects, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Uh, One more question. In this person constructor, you are reassigning n equal to name and add equal to address equal g, right? Why we are doing like this?
Yeah, that is a very good question. Let me just explain what is happening, right? So let me copy this one here. This is very small. Okay. And we have person tester. Let me copy this one as well. So we have these two classes. I believe it is visible to you. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So our program starts its execution from main method. So program will start his execution from this line. From this line. So first of all, this line will be executed. Like if I go into person class and I try to run, I'll not find an option to run this. You can see we are getting run configuration only, right? And if I go into command prompt and try to run it, so it will show me some information like main method not found. right here at person class. Let me just go inside this project. Okay, so we have person, right, and we have person tester here. Okay, let me just open command prompt, and to compile person class, what we will be doing is java c person.java, right? So it will create a class file here. You can see we got a person class, person.class. Getting this? Now what we will do, we'll be saying like this. So you can see main method not defined in class person. Please define the main method as this. Okay, getting this?
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. So when
Now
if we
yes, yes.
run from main method, so it won't give any error, right? So instead of person, what
Like
class we got?
I can run it from this point.
Yeah,
I'm coming to that. So this class itself doesn't have any entry point. What I mean by entry point is main method would be the entry point from where execution will start. Okay. So what we are doing here is we are creating an object, right? Um, Here at this moment, when we saying person p1 is equals to new person 0 and xyz and anuj. So basically what we are instructing to our system, we are saying, hey java, please do one thing, create an object of person class with the name p1 into stack, where stack method stack, java method stack. Okay, that will be holding some values. What are those values? There will be name, there will be age, there will be address. Okay, now how to work? It will be searching for his body. Like when we say new person, so it will go back inside the person class and we'll see if there is something which match to this signature. So it will go here at this point, right? Now what we are saying, guys, please your mind concentrate here only, because this is very important concept. What I'm doing here is I'm saying 0 xyg anuj. So whatever I am passing from this line, the highlighted line will go here. So in a we are passing 0, in add we are passing uh, x y g, in n we are passing what, anuj, right? Now what I am saying, this person p1 has some variables, instance variables, name, age, and address, right? Do one thing, initialize the value of a into this variable name, so it will make or add anuj here for this particular object. Now when we say address add, it will add xyz here. When we say as a sorry, it will be 0 here for age, and for address it would be xyg. Are you getting this? After execution of this line, this will be the data in p1. Getting my point?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
this call, this is, let me highlight it, this is call constructor call, and this call is getting execute for p1. That means whatever we will be doing inside the body of this constructor will be done for p1. Getting my point? Then we are saying p1 dot display. Who is calling display info method? p1. It will go inside display uh, at this point, and we'll be checking what is the name is in P1, what is the age, what is the address, and we'll print that. Make sense? Anybody has any doubt in this?
Anuj, I have a doubt.
Yes, yes, please
We
ask.
we have used two methods, one with the parameters and one without parameter. So
Okay.
first it calls the one with the parameter and then goes to the other without parameter.
Are you talking about this person and this person?
Yes, yes.
No. When we say,
Mhm.
when we say, look at here, because at the board it's going a bit difficult. When we say this line in person tester,
Mhm.
so that means we are calling a constructor which will accept three parameters. First one would be int, second one would be string, third one would be string. And if I say open declaration, you can see it will take us here in the parameterized constructor.
Okay.
So that means this is not getting called, or if you
Mhm.
want to see, you can just write it like here. I am in param constructor. Right now, I'm going to run it again. I'll say start, right? I'll say, and let me just debug so that you can understand line by line execution of this program. Okay.
Okay. Mhm.
All right. So keep an eye on my screen. All the windows, like we will be having 5 different parts in this in this window. Right now we are getting 4, like the left area, right, where we have person tester Java application, the middle one where we have basically the person tester class, and the right one where we are basically can see what are the variables, breakpoints and expressions, and here is the output window, the console, right? I'm saying execute this line because we are now at line 4, the highlighted line. When we say F6 step over, it will be executed and output will be printed here on console, right? Now I'm saying create an object of person class with parameterized constructor. So it will go inside the constructor body, and you can see I am in param constructor was printed. Getting my point? Where we have wrote this, we have wrote this here in person, parameterized person. If it were a default one, then the message was constructor invoked.
Yeah.
Getting my point?
Okay, I got it. Thanks.
Okay.
But
Now it should.
it should goes to default one, right? First.
Why? We are not calling that at this moment. Yeah, we will be calling at line 9. So we are not at, yeah, we are not at line yet. It will come into picture. Hold on. Okay, so when we say person P1 new person 0xyz, what happens then? The particular constructor body will be executed. This one. Okay. Now this line has been executed, this particular line, and we can say this P1 has been created inside the memory. And if you go here in the variable tab, you can see P1 is got created, and what the information it is having: address, age and name. You can see the value of that information. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, now I'm saying P1 dot display info. So it will, when I say open declaration, so we'll be going into display informations method body. Okay, and what we are doing, show name. Whose name? Who is calling it? Who is calling? P1. So it will show name of P1, right? When we say age, whose age? Obviously who is calling this? So in this case, who is calling? P1. So P1's age will be printed. Similar thing for address. Getting my point? Let me execute this and keep an eye on console. Anuj 0xyz. Okay. Now we are at line 9. Here we are calling default constructor. So you can see we are at default constructor now, and the corresponding line will be printed. Okay. P2 will be created in the memory. Null, 0, null. What are the values? 0, null, null. Right? When we say P2 dot display info, obviously whatever we have will got that only. So you can see we are getting null, 0, null. And finally, we are at the end. When I say end will be printed. Any doubt in this? It might be confusing for you guys because this is the starting and we haven't done number of things here with constructor, with method. So basically in programming, whatever programming you are learning, if you know how to call, how return will work, then you can write anything.
So we cannot pass parameters to parameterized constructor without reassigning instance variable to parameterized arguments, right?
I didn't get your question. Hold on, I'll ask one moment. So I'm adding some comments so that it might get easy for you. This is parameterized constructor. What was your question? Ask now.
So here we are passing the parameters to parameterized constructor, and in there we are reassigning the instance variable. Can we do statical instant variable, right?
No, I'm not getting your question.
Like here, from here
Which
we are
line?
passing from main class. We are passing the parameters to in another class parameterized constructor, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So there we are from reassigning the instance variable, right, in the parameterized constructor.
Here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this name and int a add n or we are reassigning to name, address, age, right? So those are declared in above class, right?
In
Like in the main above
the
this
person
class.
class.
Yeah,
In person class. Yeah. These are instance variable.
So can we do like for static variable also?
Static variable.
Yeah.
Static variable won't participate in constructor. This is for objects only. Static is a different thing, right?
Okay.
Static means it would be part of a class, not an object.
I think she's trying to say that can we give string name is equal to n over here, where your cursor is.
String
Name
okay, string name is equals to
n.
No, not that. We
n
can't
won't
give.
go here, like it will say what is n. I don't know, cannot be
Yeah.
resolved to a variable. Yeah, you can do something like this. If you want to take some default name, then obviously you can do that. So what will happen initially, your object will be created with this value when you will be using this particular constructor. Let me just run it. So for P2 you will be getting default name. Can you see it?
My concern is why we are giving 2 times those instance variable in the class and again in the parameterized constructor.
Here we are declaring, right?
Here we are
Here
declaring, here we are assigning, right? In the
initializing, or you can say assigning.
yeah. So why don't we give directly to the constructor?
I didn't get you. Can you help me to write like how you want to write it?
So I don't want to declare any instance variable in a class person. So directly I want to pass the variable parameters to parameterized constructor.
Here.
Yeah.
How? You want those variables to be declared here?
No,
Like this.
no.
And then where is the confusion? Okay. Just do one thing.
Like int a string name into the parameterized constructor, she's saying.
You want to give it
Yes.
here, right?
No, no, no. You,
No?
the way, my concern is just like in the constructor and in the class, we are
I'm not getting your point. Do
assigning
one thing, share your screen and let me know what exactly you are saying so that I can understand what are your requirements.
I'm
Please go
attending
ahead.
on my on phone.
Sorry.
I'm not attending through the computer. I'm attending on phone.
Monday onwards, you will be attending using your laptops if you want to ask questions and want to share your screen. Okay. And if you just want to enjoy the session, then it's up to you, whatever the medium you want to use.
I think she's asking like directly she want to declare the variables in the constructor parameterized. Like
Yeah, yeah. Who, who is that? Can I know their name?
yeah, Saroja.
You want to
Yeah.
declare here.
Directly in the parameterized constructor without declaring
Like
above,
this.
like inside
So,
the.
no, no, not like that. Okay, I will come to you after some time. Okay, Anuj. I think
No,
I'm.
it would be good. Like other people might have the same doubt. Then, if we go one to one, then it won't help to others. It's very good to ask questions.
That's okay. I will try and I will ask you again.
Okay, fine. Anybody has any other doubt?
Mamta, write down in a chat window what you're
Yeah,
trying to
that
say.
will
Write
work.
down in a chat window.
Why? Like program you want me to write in the chat window?
No, no, not the program, just the what you say?
Question?
Yeah, question. Not the question. Whatever you're saying that parameterized constructor, that how you want to write.
Okay, okay, okay. The bit of code. Okay, I will write.
Mamta, do one thing. See, there are two classes. You can see the line numbers. Just guide me where I should write the code. In person class, if it is in person class, then tell me the line number. If it is in person tester, then tell me the line number. Very simple.
Okay, I will ask you again. Okay, you go ahead and tell whatever.
No, no, don't feel shy.
No, no, no. I don't want to waste your time.
Okay, fine then. Anybody has any other doubt? There are two things. One is calling, right? And one is definition. Definition. So whenever we say, for example, what we were doing, I think you lost my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, let me share it again. Yeah, we are here on tester class. So this is basically the constructor call. And when we can call, if we have the similar constructor defined inside that class. So for example, if I say something like this, there is no constructor defined with 4 parameters. The first one should be an integer and last 3 would be string. You can see we are getting an error. The constructor person is int, string is undefined. Getting this? Tell me.
Yeah, clear.
We can only call when we have defined. So first we need to define, like if we want to pass 4 parameter, then we need to define that constructor. Otherwise we will not able to call. Like in this case, we are getting an error. Getting my point? When we say call, it goes to its body and do the stuff whatever we have defined over there. Like in this case, what we have defined, we will be having name, age and address, initialize those values, right? So it's doing the same thing. And the code I'm writing is not the standard one. How it will be a standard one? Like we will be having the same variable name here, name, address, and sorry, age, address, and name. Whatever we are using here, we should use similar name. But in this case, what will happen if I say name, address, and age? What will happen? We will not get the information that we want. Like just let me just run it once. You can see I'm passing well information 0 xyz Anush, but even after that I'm getting 0, null, and null. Can you see it? Why? Because you can see here name is equals to name has no effect. Whenever local variable and instance variable has the same name, then your compiler will be thinking like, okay, you want to keep this name into this name variable. That means there is no logic to do it. If I say print name, age, and address inside constructor, it is fine. Like you can see, it will be doing what you want to do. Before that, let me just print it so that we can see from where the data is coming. So when it was in constructor, you can see values were there. But when it was outside the constructor and we were asking to show the information, we were getting 0, null, and null. Right? Now, how we can avoid this? So to differentiate between local variable and an instance variable, these are instance variable. And here at this line, these will be called local variables. So we should use this. This means instance variable. If I say open declaration, it will take me to line 4. Can you see? This dot address, this dot age. So we can understand this one like this. This means the object who is calling this constructor. In this case, who is calling P1. right? So p1 dot name, we are doing basically p1 dot age, p1 dot address. Any doubt in this? In general, we should have the similar name, whatever we have in instance variables, and we will be differentiating like this dot name, this dot address, this dot age. Any confusion till this point?
Hi, Anand. Shall we use this keyword in the method also, or only in constructor?
Yes, we can. Like whenever we are referring an instance variable, we can use this. If there are similar variables inside local, so inside a
Okay.
method, for example, if we have local variables inside a method with the same name as we have in instance variable, then to differentiate between, like, we want to tell our program use local one or the instance one, right? Then
Okay.
obviously we will be using this.
Yeah. Okay. Clear.
Clear? Okay. For example, let me just show you. Person tester class also have a variable. Let me take int x is equals to 100. Okay. So this is an instance variable for person tester class. When I am inside main method, not in even, not here. I will do it here because in static it won't be accessible without an object. So what I am going to do is I'm defining a method void. Just let me say so. Okay. System.out.println. So, and also I'm having x here which is containing 200. Okay. And let me just remove this for a moment, and what I'm doing is I'm saying tester person tester pt is equals to new person tester. Now pt dot so here we are printing this x. So we can see we are getting 200, but what we want to print the value which we have in instance variable. Then we will be doing this dot x. Okay. Now we will get 100. Make sense? You
Yeah.
got the clarity when we will be using this?
Yeah.
When
Clear.
instance variable and local variable having the same name, right?
Can we call this as a global variable, that instance variable?
No, there is no concept of global. There are three types of variable: static, instance, and local. We'll be discussing that. So for this moment, you can say this is instance variable, and this is local variable. And if I say int static a, this is a static variable, static int a, sorry, like this. This is, we'll see the difference. Like for now, you can say what is the difference between a local variable and an instance variable.
If we don't create a object, means how the x equal to 100 is a global. Do we call it as a global?
global is basically which can be accessible anywhere, right?
Right.
I think
But
she's
it,
saying the static variable, right?
No, if we won't call as a constructor and a object, if you don't create a object, how the x equal to 100 is an instance variable or global?
instance
Static
variable,
variables are global variables, right?
you can say, but there is no concept. Java doesn't say it's a global variable. It's a static variable for this class.
So if we don't create an object, then what would be the output for x?
You cannot use x without an object. I mean, this instance variable. Instance variable can only be used after creation of an object.
So this keyword is used to differentiate instant variable and a local variable, right?
Yes, yes, exactly.
And do we
Using
create
this.
always we create object in main class only? Main method, I mean main method.
For a couple of days, we will be doing in main method, but when we will be working with a project or inside a project, there will be only one main method. Or even when we will be working on web-based applications, main method won't be there. There will be something else. Okay. We just need main method for entry, and after that we can have multiple flows in our program.
And we create objects only in main method, or we can create outside main also?
We can create outside main. No harm to declare, or sorry, no harm to create object outside the main method.
Okay.
Any other doubt?
But is it good to create in a main method, right?
This is just a demo class, like how to call a constructor, but in real time it won't be like this. For example, if I have something to show you, let me just show. We have this gen card project. Okay, so you can see I have candidate.java, candidate list.java, constants, file upload from frame, login frame, and then user.java, utility.java. I'm saying login frame. So what I'm doing here is, you can see this is the main method. Here I'm creating only one object, which is login frame. Okay. After that, I'm creating image icon object inside login frame constructor. Getting my point? Login frame is my own class. Only one object I'm creating here. Rest of the object I'm creating here. Like label I'm creating like this. This is a simple UI. Program for this. All other stuff I have done outside main method.
Okay,
So
got
main
it.
is just an entry point. Like I told, entry would be from this point, and rest of the stuff will go here. Okay, and later on I have told, like whenever any user click on the button, like login button, so what will be next? Like we'll say get user, we'll say new file upload from. So different thing can be there. It depends on our requirements and the use case. So for now, you can say like there would be a good point where we can start creating an object, but this is not the case. Like we will be using every time. Make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Like in real time project, there will be only one or 2 object might be there, we will be creating inside main method. Rest of the stuff will be in other classes. Okay, like if I go here in this class, so what it does, it creates other thing, like again it's creating image icon, label, button, right? String object. Getting my point? So
Yeah.
for now, you just keep focus on like what is a constructor and how we can define it, how we can call it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So this was the program we were having. So this is the call for parameter constructor, and this is the definition. Anybody has any question till this point?